Hello and welcome to Leadership Dialogue Podcast. I am Chiko Denaka Dili. Well, today we will be looking at party politics and political parties in Nigeria since the start of the Fourth Republic in 1999 up until this minute. Well, this is against the backdrop of several reports and stories of dysfunctionality in political parties, lack of unity, and political ideology. Well, you may want to ask what the ideological framework of many political parties are, and what of course brought together different pieces of groups or perhaps groups to form political parties. Now, I give you a clarical example in 2015 when different groups came together to form what we now know as the All Progressives Congress. Well, just in the last 24 or perhaps you could say 48 hours, some leaders of the People's Democratic Party and some leaders from the All Progressives Congress, as well as the SDP and several other political parties, have also come together to form what we now know as another movement, perhaps a third movement in the wings of politics. Well, this time around, these parties are coming together under the umbrella of ADC to drive what they call as a veritable opposition to fight or wrestle power from the ruling All Progressives Congress. Well, this will form our discussion today, and of course my guest is in the studio. My guest is Barrister Samuel Meme. He is a politician, a legal practitioner, and then a president of Leadership, Justice, and Economic Advancement Hope. Oh, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have you. We will continue this conversation after the break. To stay.
As a people and members of LJE Green community, we share a deeper commitment to protect not only our environment, but also the rights and dignity of all individuals within our reach. Every day, we are faced with responsibility to uphold human dignity. If you see something happening around you, do not turn blind eye. We must act because that's where our role as ambassadors come in. Being an ambassador doesn't require any superpower. It requires awareness, compassion, and the willingness to speak up. If you see something, say something. It's our duty to stand up for justice and amplify the voices of those who can't speak for themselves. One voice can spark a movement, and together we can create a nation that values human life. You can reach us on 070-5236-8821 or visit our website at www.ljenigeria.org to report a violation. Remember, if you see something, say something.
It's still Leadership Dialogue Podcast. Remember that you can be part of this conversation. All you need to do is like our page, follow us on our pages on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and as well as YouTube. The handle still remains at LJE Nigeria. Remember that you can always drop your comments and of course ask your questions and contribute to the conversation. Well, before we went on that break, we told you that our topic for today is party politics and political parties in Nigeria since the start of the Fourth Republic in 1999. But my guest is still here, Barrister Samuel Meme. Then we'll just delve straight into the conversation. How would you assess political parties in Nigeria in terms of ideology, in terms of strength, and in terms of, well, I call it capacity to drive possible change and strengthen democracy?
Well, thank you very much for this question. And for me, up to this moment, we cannot say we have political ideology or a political party with a political ideology in Nigeria. This is because we have more of politicians rather than leaders. And we must begin to look inward into this area political party without leadership will take us back in this country, and as we have always experienced. And when you look at the configuration of this group of people now trying to move into ADC is already a distinct political party. And we also saw and we heard the reaction from the last presidential candidate of the party in the person of Dumidi Kachuku, when he vehemently said that these guys came to the back door. And this also informed the issue, the main issue we are discussing about this political party ideology in Nigeria. You have people who would just naturally come together, politicians, then decide to say, okay, we want to restore power from the incumbents. The same people will always rescue power. Before the 2015 election, you have people like Rotimi Amechi, Aregbe Salah, and the current president, Buhari, and the rest of them. And they came, they restored power from former president Goodluck Jonathan, and they formed APC. When you have politicians who cannot maintain a system, such politicians could not be trusted. Because if they really believe in what they did in 2015, they should have remained in APC, organize the party, fix the issues in the party in terms of leadership issues in the party. Nigerians would definitely embrace them. So when you come into a system, one or two things do not favor you, then immediately you just step out and go and form another political party. From there, you win election, you put in some people there, then the next day again, you move into another political party, moving from one party to another. That is not BATs. And we must begin to look at the right political intrigues in this country, and that is where the leadership issue will begin to resonate.
Well, we understand that we could look at several indices that could help reintroduce true change to Nigerian politics, and of course democracy, strengthen democracy in our polity. Well, when you made mention of the new baby in the block, that is the ADC, and ADC as a party, we saw, several push some few hours ago, and that is, what people would call, Nigerians would call a new drive, a new change, perhaps the hope they've always wished for. We saw political bigwigs, we saw gladiators from the likes of
former this, former that.
They've all held positions. That's the interesting part of it. But from the likes of Peter Obi, for instance, who held the flag of Labour Party in 2023, pushing for an ideology of a youth revolution that could, transform the fortunes of Nigeria. And then we have likes of the former vice president, for instance, and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in 2019 and also in 2023. We had in that formation is the former Minister of Transportation, Amechi,
Former Senator.
And there are a lot of former
Senator.
big wings there, and people who we know and respect in Nigerian political space. Is that not perhaps the change Nigerians have, wished for? Is that not what we could say can bring about stronger ideologies in political parties? Because for these people to come together, something brought them together. What that thing is better described as an ideology.
No. You mentioned people that Nigerians respect. One thing, when you talk about leadership is not how much you have in your accounts. Leadership has nothing to do with your former position or your current position. It's about how you're able to influence your position to the benefit of the people. So you have people like David Mark, who was there at the formation of PDP. You have people like former President Atiku Abubakar, who was there from the foundation of PDP. They could not instill political ideology into PDP. He went further from PDP to other political parties, then APC, then come back to PDP, then ADC. ADC is about 18 years old. So for me, this is just a system of trying to, come together. I grieve politicians who just want to come together it is very healthy for the democracy, but if you want to see or identify political ideology from this group of people, then you are making a mistake. These guys who now form up, with due respect to some of them who have also done well, because we have some of their followers who are doing extremely well. But for the ones you now refer to as the political bigwigs, the former this and former that, it is easy for you to assess them based on what they have done in the past. You have former governors. You have former Governor Arebosola. You have former Governor Rotimi Amechi. We are talking about, at this level of our time, people who cannot make policies that will drive the system. People who could not do anything that would drive. You are talking about people who were involved in governance, that the only responsibility they did was to pay salary and construct few roads. No science, no technology, no ideology to run a system, no plans. All they want is to remain in power. And some of them, God has been so kind and gracious to them. They have been in power for so long. People like Rotimi Amechi has been in power for so long. And I respect for some of the good things he has done in the past, but then there's still much expected from these guys by Nigeria. So I don't really think that they really hold so much respect from Nigeria. Only that we are still evolving. And I know for sure that in the nearest future, these guys they will just belong to the history of Nigeria permanently, even in their lifetime. Because if they now come together to join ADC, which is an existing political party, the question is, what new thing are they bringing on board? That is the question you begin to ask, because if you was a governor at a youthful age, you could not bring in the changes that is needed for the country to work. Then is it now you want to bring in the changes?
But for the very first time, they believe that there's a reason for them to come together.
They always come together.
To revive Nigeria.
This is not the first time they are coming together.
Yeah, it's not the first time, but there's something different about this one. According to them, Nigeria is at the brink of collapse. And Nigeria is in a situation that, if nothing is done, could lead to perhaps a scene or a scenario that you and I might not even want to witness. And when you look to the northwest, for instance, the cases of insecurity is better discussed than witnessed. We have seen also cases of insecurity, brewing in the north central zone. The case of hunger in Nigeria has tripled. And then we talk about the economy itself. It's depleting by the day. These perhaps are the reasons these politicians have come together to say enough is enough. I remember a few weeks ago, I had one of the publicity or spokesperson of the Northern Coalition here in the studio. And then he made it clear that 2027, for not just Northerners, but Nigerians as well, is a push for survival, is a push for the rescue of not just Nigeria, but the soul of Northern Nigeria, as well as the South too. Is that not enough, more than enough reason why people can come together as a group to change situation or status quo in the country?
For me, my concern is not about them really coming together as friends or as colleagues or as a group for the purpose of rescuing power from this government, the current government led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is because it will be difficult for Nigeria to survive another 2 years, in the remaining 2 years of this president, and not even beyond the 2027, it will be difficult for Nigerians to survive from 2027 down to 2031. We appreciate that. But I am more concerned about they should begin to make critical statements. We are talking about the issue of food insecurity. We are talking about hunger. We are talking about insecurity. what is the solution? What kind of solution do they have for Nigeria? And what kind of solution are they providing for this current government? We have been making some level of contribution and solutions that will drive the country. We have said you cannot allow cattle to move in this country and expect full security. It is not possible. So people like Atikun, people like this group individually should begin to speak of the solution. When we talk about this insecurity, those like we are from the moon. We are living realities of the insecurity in this country. We're living the reality of the issue of food insecurity in this country. How do you tackle food insecurity? How do you tackle human security? How do you protect the farmlands? Can you send forest guards to the farmlands to protect the whole country? The answer is no. So they should begin to tell us what they really have in stock, not by ganging up together to say they want to send. How can you be so sure that if these guys finally come in, if they're able to come in to become,
They'll make the desired difference.
because Nigeria keep going down with this crop of leaders. Some of them have been in governance for more than 20 years. No innovations, no nothing. And that is our concern basically, and that is my personal concern, that these guys just want to have opportunity to control the resources of this country.
Do you think some of the failures we have seen in the formation of political parties, in the drive of political parties, and regulation of political parties could be a fallout of the INEC inability to hold sway in terms of providing leadership to these political parties?
It is not the responsibility of INEC to run political system or political party. And again, this is a major issue in this country, trying to cultivate a political ideology for a political party. And it is part of the reason why some of us are trying to put one or two things together. But again, if you look at it, you will find out that the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressive Congress, the APC, all of them came with the intention to carry out one purpose or the other. But in the long run, they had consistently failed the Nigerian people. So, in my opinion, I think we have not been able to establish a core ideological political party. Some other time...
Isn't that where INEC comes into play? Because before these parties are registered, they go through INEC.
Yeah.
INEC is like an umbrella body that oversees all of this, even when they are not directly involved in the day-to-day running of individual political parties. But perhaps the electoral umpire could say, before your party is registered, we would like to see your policy framework. We would like to understand and know what your ideologies are. Or perhaps there could be some sort of town hall meetings where notable Nigerians and Nigerians as well are called in to look at some of the formations, policy formations of intending political parties, and then decide whether or not such a party should come into existence in the first place.
Unfortunately, the Electoral Act do not make such provisions, do not give such power to INEC to decide how a political party should operate when they finally come into existence. You've seen what happened, you've witnessed some of the things that happened in the recent time, where people elected, some persons elected into the Senate from the Labour Party, and some other ones elected from the Labour Party in the House of Representatives. They have left their political party to other political party. So do you think INEC will have the power to stop these people moving from one party to another?
But there is an existing law on party crisscrossing, especially when you end a position through that party. Isn't there an existing law?
There is.
So what happened?
Then that becomes the issues of the players. It is the responsibility of the political party to fight and to reclaim their mandate.
Does the buck stop at the doorsteps of the players, the political parties?
Yes, because they decide to go to court when they need to go to court. So, if I voted for someone from my constituency to represent me in the House of Representatives, And after the election, I vote for such a candidate and he becomes a member of the House of Representatives. Tomorrow he decides to defect some other political party. As a voter, do I have the power to vote, to go to court? No. I do not have the power. It is the political party who has the power to pursue such a candidate to a logical conclusion to ensure that they return their mandate back to the political party. So if the political party choose not to fight for such a cause, then nothing will happen.
Can you give us some clerical example in terms of differentiating the way our political parties run in Nigeria and the way political parties in other climes will also work vis-a-vis Nigeria and the United States, or the biggest democratic political party in the world? That's the one from India, and several other political parties existing around the globe.
One of the challenges, again, has to do with the issues of leadership. We've had people who failed in their respective businesses, people who cannot even manage their business, coming into public space to hold positions, the political office holders. And sometimes it is because they lack character. They lack the necessary character to run such an office. So they get voted in. Sometimes they tend to pretend as if they buy the ideology of the political party. Every political party indeed had their manifestos and the methods or the modus operandi. But when people are voted through such a political party, the individual influence will override the party influence. This is also because these political parties don't have the strong will to ensure that the right policies are maintained within their political space. Political parties in Nigeria most time are normally formed for the purpose of selling funds to aspirants who want to contest for elections. They do not have the political will to manage the institution of the political party. So until we begin to see political institutions, political party operating as a full-time institutions, until then, politicians will begin to take their political space and ride on it, get to their destination, move into the ruling political party so that they can be able to influence contracts to themselves and to their cronies. And that is what you see play around the Nigeria political space.
But given your trail of thoughts, we have some institutions in Nigeria, some political institutions, quote and unquote, who of course are registered political parties, but were formed and are driven as an institution. For instance, the People's Democratic Party is at best described as a political institution.
In what way?
With an existing institution on politics, with an office.
They are selling forms.
Not just selling forms. I do know that the PDP, for instance, operates a separate institution on politics. And when you listen to the founding fathers of the PDP, you would have the sense that the PDP was put together first as an institution before a political party. Now, for an institution like the PDP, do you find it rather worrisome that it can no longer hold the center?
This is if the right people come into PDP, the right people with the right ideas. Again, the founding fathers of People's Democratic Party, like you rightly mentioned, if they had these dreams, they should have set up a long-lasting dreams that will continue to succeed them even after their time. They never had this institution. What do we mean by institution? Is it by having an office? What is the training method? What is the ideology to keep the ideology of the party to a long-lasting period of time? PDP had opportunity of presenting almost how many presidents? You have the Olusegun Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, 4 presidents under the PDP.
In 16 years.
In 16 years. So what did they do with that? Then you don't have the APC. You go to some of their offices, go to the offices of the state secretariats of PDP and APC, state secretariats. Outside the time of electionary campaign. You go to their office, you just barely see maybe just one security person or few. Nothing is going on in their political party secretariats. They have no programs as a political party. How do you identify a political party with ideology? A political party with ideology will continue to organize programs for their members. They will continue to inculcate these ideas on their new and their old members. Orientation from time to time will continue to go on. That is how you maintain political ideology, political party ideology. If you establish a political party and the only thing you want to do is to provide platforms for people to contest. So when you see agreed members of other political party who could not get the opportunity to flag the flag of the party, they come to you. You just jump up because they are bringing in money. We can't maintain such a political party in that manner.
Sorry to interrupt you, but when you talk about the manner in which political parties should continue to push their processes outside electioneering years, what would puncture your statement or would argue that for some political parties, I'll still use the PDP for instance, there has been several reports of leaders in the political party, even administrative officers in the party, going on retreats. Do you not consider a retreat as annual
programs? Unfortunately, even those political parties cannot even maintain their programs. Interestingly, if you look at the constitution and the manifesto of APC, very beautiful. But if you look at the reality, you see completely different things. This is because when the political party was conceptualized and established by the founding fathers, and they eventually won the elections, the politicians and other opponents decided to side. They are the one that's also blamed because of their crimes, or so they have involved themselves in the other political system, coming to your political party to dominate and hide under the idea that they are supporting you as a president or as a governor. The issue of governance must originate from political party ideology. If you have a political party that produces certain persons into office, at the end of the day, such party continue to dance to the tune as if they are now slaves to the elected official, which is not supposed to be so. A political party ought to continue to guide their members, guide their political office elected officials, and even guide the government and ensure that the right thing is done. So what you see is that somebody come into a political party, get a ticket of the party, win an election, automatically you now become the leader of the political party.
So apparently a political party should serve as a watchdog.
Should serve as a watchdog and instruct and ensure that the programs of that political party, based on the ideological factor of the party and based on the manifesto, is seen to be completely implemented by the elected officers.
Well, before we'll continue that conversation, we'll just go on a short break, and when we return, of course, the conversation continues. So stay. Great.
Nigeria is at a turning point. Young people are rising, demanding change. If you believe in justice, strong leadership, and real reform, then it's time to take a stand.
At LJE Nigeria, we're not just observers, we're builders. We're tackling leadership deficits, advocating for justice reforms, and driving economic advancements for all.
As a volunteer, you won't just watch, you will be a part of it. You will gain access to powerful seminars, conferences, and mentorships from professionals who believe in your potential.
No matter who you are, whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, a professional, or someone who cares, there's a place for you here.
Network with passionate change makers, build skills, and step into leadership.
Join LJE Nigeria today. Let's lead with truth. Let's build with courage. Let's rise for Nigeria. Become an LJE volunteer today and be the change Nigeria needs. Follow all our social media handles for more details.